Bonjour and welcome to my commentary for the Group 3 FIA at Le Mans. I'm starting my qualifying lap. I'm looking forward to this one because the McLaren is a very fast car in a straight line. And to do my purpose, take a slight lift, early braking, take this corner as easy as possible because penalties here are quite atrocious. Nice smooth through the Tetra Rouge S's I think they're called. I'm not so good on the corner names. I used the split marker as a kind of reference point for that corner. You can see the Mercedes using my slipstream. I started intentionally quite far back from the Porsche because I knew if I caught it then I didn't want to get held up, in the middle of the corner. The straight line difference is fairly big between the McLaren and a Porsche. Looking to the left hand side using the marshals as a braking point. Try to keep it as smooth as possible to get an early on the power on the exit. Mercedes still keeping up with me. Down the long Mulsanne straight. Again, I kind of use the shadows as my reference point here, which isn't the best route. It's like I couldn't really find a good marker on the side of the track that I could consistently pick out. But again, nice and early on the power, and I can visibly see I'm catching the Porsche here. It's like there's a massive difference from when I started the lap. Nice and early on the brakes here. Another one I wanted to take easy. I wanted to make sure I got as good an exit as possible. Use the traction. And as you can see, I'm now in the slipstream of the Porsche ahead. So gaining. At this point I'm wondering if I'll pass him in time before the corner. I'm thinking I'm going to get held up. The Porsche clearly doesn't see me coming and I have to run slightly off the track. Managed to get a decent turn in still. Might have had dirty tyres. A little bit ragged through that corner into this tight right-hander. I forgot the name already. Again, early on the power, the Porsche just right up behind me. Coming into this next corner, I used the AstroTurf as a bit of a marker for where to brake. Down into fourth, tried to get on the power as early as possible. A slight lift just to make sure the car rotated, and again, this is where the McLaren struggles most during the lap. Try to keep it tight there, and then to open up this corner. And a bit of a lag spike kind of made me jump there when I looked behind at the Porsche. A little bit slow into the chicane, just making sure I get my lap nice and tidy, and through to the finish line, and third at the time. Now getting into the race. Starting from 6th, and my goal is to go for a no stop. So I'm running the harder tyres, and I'm kind of expecting everyone at this point to be running that strategy. It's like there aren't many people, you know, running the one stop, but going into the start, I start in the middle of the chicane, which isn't ideal, so I'm already slightly behind, but in the slipstream, able to pull back up, and see I'm already see the gap already opening up to the cars behind, slightly wide with cold tyres. Again, taking it really easy into through the chicane, just making sure I'm nice and smooth, don't get any penalties. Again, nice and easy, a bit too slow there, but build up a bit of speed on the exit, so it wasn't too bad. And I get a reasonable run through there. I'm still in the slipstream, so that's all that's important. So with there being a McLaren McLaren F1 up in first, it's like I'm not expecting to gain on leaders down the straight, whereas if it was like any other car, I'd expect the gap to come down to the leader on the straights and then maybe open up in the corners. Again, fighting as hard as I can just to keep in the slipstream. The Nissan GTR is looking very fast up in front, so I'm already wondering which tyres he's on. Could he have gone mediums? And if he is, then that means you know, he'd have to lap about 2 seconds a lap faster, you know, to pull out enough of a gap. He's getting in a bit of a fight with the Mercedes up in front. I'm looking at this, I'm not wanting to fight too much because I can see the gap opening up behind. Don't want to pull more people back into the fight. So the GTR makes the move. I'm closing really fast at this point, so I have to lift and just take an easy braking, just make sure I get through the corner. Good traction on the exit. Now, even with the Mercedes in the slipstream of the GTR, I should still get a good run on him here. But the only problem is pulling out of the slipstream, you know, he still has it, makes it difficult to pass. With them both lifting like that, it kind of threw me a little bit off there, but managed to keep everything clean, get a bit out of shape through there. And here the Mercedes runs slightly wide, loses the rear a little bit, and I'm able to take advantage. I still just about have the slipstream to the GTR in front, so I can use that to pull ahead, and then the McLaren's pace will, you know, take over from that point on. Again, I'm not expecting to be fast through this section. This is where I'm going to struggle. You can see the Mercedes all over the back of me in this section. But I keep it smooth, take a nice tight line through all the corners, don't leave any openings for him to make a lunge on me. And I basically lost the slipstream to the GTR in front now, so with him being on medium tyres, or at least I'm guessing on medium tyres, that means he's pretty much gone, and the leader's pace kind of suggested that the front few runners were also on mediums, so I had the Mercedes behind me who has similar pace, so was very likely running the same stop strategy as I was. But with a race like this with multiple strategies, it's very hard to tell until the until the race starts playing out closer to the end. Just keeping everything as smooth as possible, trying to get good exits on the corners. The Mercedes actually tries to bump draft me rather than overtake on the straight, but because the McLaren's straight line speed, it barely gave any sort of advantage. You would pull up behind me and just kind of give me a slight nudge and then just start dropping back. Straight, just the Mercedes tailing me. For the first, 5 or 6 laps, this is kind of what I was expecting. It's just like, I'm not going to be able to drop him because he's faster in most of the corners where it matters, so he'll be able to keep him through the corners, and then the slipstream keeps him with me down the straights. So I kind of know that it's up to me to be able to catch the leaders if possible, or if they are one-stopping, to keep us within the window to pass them when they pit. Keeping it nice and smooth. Nice power on the exits. The GTR taking the other Mercedes up in front. I kind of noticed the other Mercedes isn't really pulling away, since the lead. He's got the slipstream with the people, further ahead, so he's had that advantage. So he's had more slipstream for longer, so he's got a gap on us, but I do start clawing him back a little bit as time goes on. Just enjoying these great shots from the Gran Turismo TV cameras. Still can't believe how good a job they do with these. Nice and smooth, using all the track, keeping these corners as tight as possible, opening up the final left-hander to get on the power as early as possible. I'm still not the quickest through these corners. I probably could have been a bit more aggressive through the chicanes. But coming into lap 3, we've kind of got our positions now. The top 3 are all running medium tyres. They're going for the one stop. The Mercedes up in front is on the hard tyres. I'm on the hard tyres, and the Mercedes behind me is on the hard tyres doing the no stop. So we're basically trying to keep the gap and not fall too far behind. So from this point on, I'm going to skip forward to lap 6 because the leaders start edging up ahead and I close the gap to the Mercedes in front. At this point, I'm just outside the slipstream, but about to gain it. As I said before, I was expecting the Mercedes behind me to be with me throughout the whole race. But my lap times have been coming down, gradually, as the race has been going on. I've been taking more and more time out of the Mercedes in front. It started off around 8/10 and it built up to about 1.5 seconds per lap at this point. and now I'm definitely in the slipstream. So I know I'm waiting until the end of the Mulsanne straight at this point. I'm going to close in and then take him before the fast right-hander into the braking point. So I'm going to wait until the end of the Mulsanne straight, and then I'm going to go for the move after the right-hander. That's the thing with the long straights, you have plenty of time to plan out what you're going to do and where you're going to do it. So I lift nice and early, just make sure I'm nice and smooth. But then I go over the curve a bit too much, and then, you know, lose the rear a bit. So I kind of thought I might have messed up my chance, but I'm still in the slipstream, so I still have the chance to make the move. Again, just closing up in the section with the massive power that the McLaren F1 has. I always take the outside line if possible here, just so I'm on the racing line into this corner. Nice and smooth, brake early, just get the car turned in and get a good exit. Nice and smooth again. That was basically my mantra in this race: be as smooth as possible and get good exits onto the long straights. And then coming to the final sector, it's basically hang on again. It's keep up as much pace as possible, and you know, try not to lose too much to the leaders who are on faster tyres. Just looking at the gap, it's just over 12 seconds. I'm thinking this is going to be very close. So I'm thinking if it goes over 13 seconds, they're definitely in front of us. If it's below 13, then there's a good chance I can jump up in front and take the lead into the final lap. I'm a bit tentative into the chicane again. I don't take it the fastest I possibly could have. And I set another fastest lap right here. And I can see the leaders coming out of the pit lane now, and as I thought, it is very close. I take second, but I don't make a move on first, so I want to use a slipstream, but then the Mercedes decides to take a lunge at me instead. Just coming through this corner, I can see the Supra is getting very close. Again, I want to take it easy into this corner, and he takes a lunge and almost spins me, which I'm very nervous about this point because we're almost out of the slipstream range. I'm a bit slow through this corner with the leader having the fresher tyres. It's like 1.4, it's like that is wafer thin until we're out of the slipstream range. 1.5 and we're out, and that's race over. 1.4 managed to stay in, and the gap starts coming down. And because the Nissan GTR is in first, it doesn't get full advantage of this slipstream itself, so that's the best situation there. Nice and easy into this corner. I'm going to go left, but after the spin I change to the right hand side. And I don't move over to the right hand side of the track. I want to hold the slipstream to the Mercedes as long as possible. So if I can stop the Nissan having it, then I know I've got a good chance of taking the lead again. Gaining into this corner. I wasn't intending to make this move so early, but I got such a good run that I changed my mind like as I was going into it. Nice and smooth, good exit. The only saving grace here is that it is the Mercedes behind me, which isn't quite as fast in a straight line and is also on 7 lap old tyres at this point, or 6 lap old tyres. Having the GTR behind me is pretty much the biggest nightmare, because that is a faster car in a straight line than the Mercedes, and on fresher tyres. But the other McLaren makes a mistake into that corner. He brakes at a point where he would normally have done for medium tyres, he tries to avoid contact, but he just doesn't slow down fast enough, and he opens up a gap for me, which gives me a bit of breathing room, but the slipstream hasn't been broken, and the Nissan GTR is now behind me, so even though I have a gap, I am still very worried. I try to be as smooth as possible in the corners. I don't want to make any mistakes. Nice and early on the power. Nissan doesn't gain too much there, but then in the slipstream the gap starts coming down, getting closer and closer. And this is where the Nissan will be faster. It's through this final section, through the Porsche curves. It'll be faster anyway, and it has fresher tyres. So I'm just trying to keep everything as tight as possible, don't leave any openings. You can visibly see him getting closer through these corners. Just the gaps coming down. I can see the gap coming down on the display, on the HUD display. But once I get into the braking point for the chicane, I feel a lot safer, so there isn't really a good chance to overtake in here. I go into this final part as slowly as I can, just to make sure he can't get a run on me, and then on the power to the line, and I get a win. At this point I'm mentally drained. It's like that final lap went from almost losing it to having a big lead, and then having the faster Nissan fighting right upon me. And it's not a screen I see too very often. 12 wins and I've been playing since launch. But I do only do FIA.